I'm allowed to make I'm not allowed to put a prince pawn on the board until 20. But I am allowed by the optional rule to create a title. The advantages of a title are that I can increase some things. He has a good charisma, so it's to my bonus to do so. There's no question of that. Let me find the governing. Gives him a +1 strength or guile, which would be nice. It allows them to raise additional taxes, and it can increase trade goods. So the most important trade good I have is probably the luxury item. However, this is not absolutely guaranteed. Trading, I have food and I have wool. Who has metal? He has 2 metal, he has a wool. An extra food might be more important than the extra luxury. Because the problem with the luxury is that becomes reliant on getting the semi-luxuries in place. So I'm going to make this guy the Prince of Lombardy. And that'll just be this John fellow. That'll affect things a little later. I got to write that down. Write that in pen, but that's actually not good because, it's fine with some titles like king, but here's the thing. If John here becomes King of Italy, the Princedom of Lombardy goes away again. So I'm using it kind of like a Prince of Wales type situation, where I give land to the first son, because no matter what, that's a good thing. And as we said, while he's a governor, he has a +1 there. I should have put this fully in pencil. I switched to pencil partway through, and I can always pen in. But on the other hand, if he was a second son or something, there's the possibility that title could leave the family, which would be troublesome. Okay, now back here. I'm trying to remember what the hell I do in this game because I took too long a rest from the dynastic sequence death. So this is an important piece here. Each character has to roll for their death. Now here I need this sheet to understand their age. Normally each character would have one of these sheets. I don't want to track all that information here. So 1275, it's 1300. That means he's 25. He will die on a 4 or more. No, he needs a 4 or more to survive. But how many dice is that? 2 dice. And the game's kind of weird because it has a few things that use 3 dice, but most use 2. So I'll start with Peter here. He's fine. And the wife has a -1 constitution, which is going to hurt her chances. So she actually needs a 5 or more. And then the little kid, who is 5 years old, does not have to roll. And I could not assign him the princedom. He's only 5. Let me erase that. Step in the dynastic sequence is marriages. Unfortunately, you kind of have to roll everybody's, whether they're alive, to make that determination. So I'm going to work through my other families, and you can see it's pretty light at this point in the game. There's not a whole hell of a lot to do. And in fact, that's true about the whole game. There's no marriages to happen right now. Everybody's 5 years old, People are young enough, they're not going to die very easily. And, well, you start out with no armies in the game. You'll be able to come up with some cash to build them, but yeah. Ran through all the dynasties, and most of them had children. We'll talk about that in a moment. None of them rolled a second time. I almost did it with the Planthead Dynasty here because they've got only 2 females. But you know, the parents are still young. Now, that makes it easier to spawn more without dying or whatever. But it also makes it more painful if you lose a wife. And what way, or the parent or the father, but the wife is the one that you're getting the modifier on. So by not making additional chances, you know, right now there are no women available. Okay, the oldest woman available that you could marry into your dynasty is 5 years old. So you would be kind of stuck forever, and that would mean you don't get to build your family up the way the other players do. And you end up probably with your dynasty dying off and some vaguely related relative who has no family connections at all just taking over the crown. I consider that a suboptimal solution anyway. It's one, dynasties actually don't usually die out in this. So, like I said, there's a lot of people in them, and you can protect yourself pretty easily with marriage contracts. So we got another daughter here. A second son here. The most valuable of all in Spain. They got now a daughter and a son. The son was very helpful to them. Another son here. We've got a surfeit of males, and then of course my Italians had nothing. Now that's going to put me to the taxation phase, or the interphase. I should be able to handle this just fine and everything, but I'm not in the best of shape still, and I'm gonna pause there. And it's not like, you know, there was a fair amount of die rolling and stuff here, and it just gets more and more intense. You know, it comes to the point where you're spending like 15 minutes rolling up who's born and who's not. Yeah, and it's one of the flaws in the design. And unlike Warrior Knights, which had its flaws and is of kind of the same era of Games Workshop type stuff, nobody picked this up and said, I see a really clean way of handling this. I think you'd have to fundamentally change what the game is to make it cleaner. Sometimes I feel like all I'm doing here is attention whoring, essentially. I mean, you know, it's no different from the other stuff I talk about, but this is, you know, the other personal stuff I talk about. And I've been awfully down on myself about the things that didn't mesh, you know, and about certain other aspects. And yes, I do feel that eventually I gave up, just as she gave up in her way. But it's not entirely fair to put it that way. Because the question of why we were together to begin with is an interesting one. It wasn't simply this, oh my God, I don't know, you know, what else am I going to find? That played into things, but honestly, when we first got together, we spent a month together. Then I went and visited her for a couple weeks. Then she came back for another month or something before we had to get married, or she had to leave pretty much for good. You know, it was a matter of you're not allowed to like just keep doing these extended 1 month visits or whatever. And plus airline costs and everything. She didn't have money, and I wasn't willing to just, you know, fund tremendously either. So what what happened was I tried to draw her out. Her social anxiety was not something that was like my autism or whatever it is that I actually have. Uh, Not that any diagnosis would really change my convictions one way or another. I'd still be fairly certain, but not convinced. It might shift it a little bit, but uh, it wasn't something her whole life. She led a life that was incredibly isolated as a young child. Then made friends eventually in, I guess, high school era or whatever, and in her art school side. And then things went really wrong, and I'm not sure what happened. One of the things, her mother died, but I'm not sure how they all related and interacted. But somewhere around this whole period, she developed this tremendous social anxiety. And my feeling was, well, that which isn't hardwired in, you should be able to be drawn out of. But again, I wasn't a sociable person. I had no fucking friends. But I would take her out on walks, and we would go places, and people would approach, and of course that's probably the worst of all situations. And I tried, I tried to motivate her and to try to bring her out of whatever this incredible depression and weight was, but I never got her out of it. There were glimmers though, and this is what really hurts, is sometimes I felt like I was getting positive feedback, but then her own reaction was, no, it didn't really do anything for me, and that was everything, I mean, we would have fun going for a walk or whatever, but it wouldn't be like that she wouldn't want to do them regularly. She wouldn't want to do the things that made her happier. And I understand that completely. That is that comfort versus happiness dichotomy, where it's easier to not make the effort, right? And I've alluded to that, but if someone was sort of prodding me the way I was prodding her, and it's hard for me to do that because I'm so deep in my own, goo of sloth and immobility, that I would have been a lot more willing to go out and to deal. And I mean, that's just me, that's just her, but I mean, I feel like I'm on a pretty far end of the inactive and unwilling side of things, and she was just so significantly far beyond that. And it went not just for walks, but for playing games. She would enjoy playing games with me, that time together, whatever. And then that just tapered off to nothing except dominion eventually, and then just to nothing. It just went away to nothing. And it's a shame because you could see she was having fun, but it's like there just wasn't a willingness to have fun again in that sense. So it's not like I totally didn't care. And in fact, it wasn't simply oh God, I'm going to try to save her this way. No, what was vital about it was, if this person is going to be what I actually need in my life, I need to bring her out more. I need her to be more engaged with life, more accepting of it, more enjoying of it. Not anything fake, just also not what ended up happening, which was just we ended up in our own little isolated bubbles in the house, wherever it was. And that decreased over time too, It's like in Phoenix, we shared a bedroom together. Then my tooth grinding made it hard for her to sleep. She started taking her bedding to another room every night. Well, that seemed stupid to me, so I just set up my bedding on the living room floor instead, which I thought was better, and that's where I worked. She would kick me awake or whatever in the morning, and I would get to work. Because my alarm was still in the bedroom, as was all my clothes and everything. And then that slowly started degenerating more and more into my old bedroom became just her room, her part of the house. And that's fine. I mean, she had nothing private otherwise, so I understand that. It's just that that privacy became part of the barrier between us. And from there, it just became more and more intense each place through the years and through each place we moved and whatever. And I totally understand the need to have your own space, but the problem was we both withdrew into our own space, both mentally and physically, to such a degree, and I felt okay with it, you know. I accepted it as that sort of compromise of, well, this is how it's going to be. It's not going to be what I want. It's not going to be what she wants. It's not going to be some compromise between the two. It's just going to be something like a little bit less bad than being completely alone. And for her, significantly better because, you know, she didn't have to work and had food and a roof over her head and everything. Things that were in doubt. And now I would have made, maybe, I mean, I was always at this point of like, this isn't working. I mean, even before we got married, I was like, this is just not going to work. I could tell. I could tell that there wasn't enough commitment to trying to make things better. That we were just not, the teeth weren't hitting together, the gears weren't turning. And again, it never would have lasted more than a few months if not for, you know, if not for the circumstances. Circumstances of the difficulty of her having come here to begin with and having nowhere to go and nothing to do. Now, she came to me from nowhere and nothing, but I think her, basically she didn't want to return to her parents, you know, and it was like, well, what are you going to do then? And it was kind of like, well, I'll probably just kill myself or something, you know. And I don't know if it was a manipulation thing or whatever, but it didn't matter. Because I was happier with what I was getting at that point from her. And then as that just deteriorated and degenerated, we also became more and more connected and intertwined, so that any kind of break became even harder. But it was one that I could not make. I've often said to people, I'm not the leaving type. I just don't. I usually can find a way through, you know. And it's other people who've always left me or kicked me out in one case, which was the most brutal experience that I've had, rather than this, which, I mean, I'm sad. I'm very sad. I'm going to miss her, but I don't feel like my entire life is ending because of it, you know. I mean, that it just, I don't see total hopelessness. I see just a worse bad life, you know. This sad and unpleasant life that I've been leading, well, it just degraded another step. And of course, you know, whatever. It's not, believe it or not, I'm a total fucking optimist. I totally believe that things will magically change. I'm the horrible kind of optimist, the magical thinking kind, who just thinks that they will change because they have in the past without me doing shit, you know? Anytime that I work for something, it wasn't worth it. anytime the thing, and that's the thing, I did work to try to help her. Um, my first wife, the heart song, it was nothing at all. I mean, that's, I felt like I just brought so much happiness and so much importance to her life without doing anything. And I mean, I did do a lot, but it was precisely what I wanted to do. And it wasn't like I'm doing this for you. It was just, I wanted to be with her all the time. She wanted to be with me all the time. It just meshed together that way. And of course, then we still went through the degeneration of time, the decay, all things decay. And the question is whether you can just cope with that, you know, because you're at your best when you don't exist yet. uh, but yeah, it's I expected to find something that easily. My conversations with my most recent wife online when we first were meeting did not lead me to have a huge amount of expectation. And in fact, this was kind of the thing. All my online relationships that might have led somewhere all kind of felt like they didn't feel magical. They didn't feel like this is it. We've got to do this, you know. It felt like, wow, this is really odd. It doesn't feel right, but that might be the medium. And this is the only one that really a serious attempt was made with. And again, you know, when you can't basically smell the person, it's hard to make these kind of judgments. And for me, once I made any commitment, including the "hey, yeah, you're coming here, right?" You know, that almost sealed the deal at that moment. That almost sealed the deal at that moment. It would have, she would have had to throw me out at that from that point on. It would have had, and you know, I'm not the easiest person to cope with, especially when I'm not getting my way. But she didn't. She didn't at all, and we just spiraled into this doom. Um, but yeah, and I don't know. I don't even know what the fuck to title this. I think I've got an idea, but I don't know what else to say. Except that I've started, I've tried getting back to Blood Royale, and I've gotten a little bit into it, and we'll get some played. I don't know how far I'm gonna get.